Alright everybody, this is video 10 of my 98 Grand Cherokee 4.0 rebuild. And it's been a couple days since I posted the last video. I got everything painted up pretty much except for the intake, which I haven't brought in from my house yet. But I took my time painting the block. It's done in gloss black with 2 coats of clear coat on it, and it had a primer put on as well. And what I did was I taped off all these spots where brackets are going to be going. And it's a smart thing to do because some of these have grounds going to them. I think like this one here. And if you got paint on it, obviously it's not going to ground itself properly. And then you know how Jeeps go. They're notorious for grounding issues and electrical problems. So any spot that's going to have wires going to it is pretty much clean metal surface. The rest of it, it's a nice finish. I just got done putting the new pistons in, and you can see I've got the cylinder walls oiled up. I've got the pistons oiled up as well. I measured my piston ring gap. Piston ring gap looked really good. I had a 9 thousandths gap on the top ring and 19 thousandths on the second ring. And then you got your oil rings down below. And it moves nice and easy. It's got a nice, good tight feel with all the pistons in it now. But before I did that, I went ahead, got the crank put in obviously with the new bearings. There's no play whatsoever, front to back, up and down, side to side. So the machine shop did a really good job grinding the crank. I was really impressed with it. And then I went ahead and assembled the pistons, the piston rings, and put the new bearings in the rods and tapped them down into place. And came out really, really nice. So I was quite impressed with it. The one thing I did notice when I flipped this over to paint this, that I did not notice when I picked it up from the machine shop. They did not deck the surface of my block, and I called them on it and asked them why. I thought that was part of my service, and they went ahead and stuck a straight edge across it. There's multiple ways to do it, and it actually came out really straight, which I was pretty impressed by. So they weren't concerned with it. So I'm just going to clean it up a little bit, stone it down, make sure there's no burrs in it or anything, and be good to go with that. Now, as far as all the components that go on this thing, I took my time with the valve cover. I did all these in the same color. I did this in the gloss black with a couple coats of clear coat on it. It was starting to rust through, so I took my time cleaning it and getting it nice and shiny. Same with the thermostat housing. That as well. And then my timing chain cover, which was really terrible looking. I took my time on cleaning it in the parts cleaner, and then took a Scotch-Brite wheel on my angle die grinder, cleaned it up, and then I shot it with primer, 2 or 3 coats of the black, and then a couple coats of clear coat. It came out looking really good. And then what I did with the timing marks is after I painted it, I ground it back down so you can actually see your numbers when you go to set your timing. And then I just got a little goofy with it, but it looks really good. The water pump is done in it's not a Chrysler blue, it's just a safety blue. But there's times when you're working on a water pump and you really want to see what the hell the bolts are, so I went ahead and did that in blue. You won't see it anyway, really. But I went along and I was looking at the crankshaft pulley. And if you can see, it's dry rotted, and I'm not impressed with that. But it is going to get replaced, and that's not just the reason why. But on the back side, see these grooves right there? Sorry, I have to point at it. Right in here. They're wear marks. That's where your seal goes. Now these grooves are pretty bad, and And chances are I go to put this on, it's going to tear my new seal up. Now I'm going to have to pop this off, pop the seal out, and put a new seal in, then get a new one anyway. So I'm not even going to even bother putting this one back in. Just going to get a new crankshaft pulley. That way I know for a fact that it's balanced and it's got good rubber in it. Because if you have bad balance, you're basically going to take that front bearing and it's going to just a matter of time before it starts to go. So I checked all my clearances on my bearings and stuff. Everything's good to go there. So I think tomorrow, it's getting kind of late, I'm going to get the camshaft in there, put the lifters in, make sure that that's all good to go, and then I'm also going to get the oil pan cleaned up. I haven't done that yet, so that's going to get the same paint as the rest of the engine has gotten. I got to clean it all up though, and so put the oil pan back on and replace a few components on this thing, and yeah, it's starting to come alive. One other thing I'm going to replace is the grommets that were up here. They were pretty dry rotted and they started to leak oil, so I'm going to go to Jeep and get a couple new ones. You can actually get them at your auto parts store, but they're in the help section and they're like $4, but I'd rather have, and they're made in China. I'd rather have something that's you know, for Jeep, made by Jeep, you know. So that is the process of the build right now. It's coming along quite nicely, so I'm hoping that by Friday or Saturday this will be all bolted up, ready to go with the head back on it, and probably next week or next weekend get it back to my house and get it put back in the Jeep. So questions, comments, shoot me any questions you got on components that I'm using, who I've used for machining, and you know, we can go from there. So thanks for viewing, guys.